Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Student of the Game. I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. And listen, if you're here, chances are you like talking sport. We're glad you're here to do it with us here tonight. Of course, all sorts of college football, NFL week one, and all the other stuff to get into here on the evening. Just so many things to react to. I don't know if you've seen some of what I've gone through here talking about it with Big Jim, CEO Big Jim Neese, and the Huddle Up podcast, as well as EJ Christian and the Student of the Game Report. But so many things going on that we've been going through. And basically, let me get into it this way. By the way, hope you're enjoying the stream here through the Huddle Up Podcast Inc. or on YouTube. Of course, you may also be enjoying it through Cirtoba Media on YouTube, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Of course, the A7BN Sports and Student of the Game Facebook pages, as well as my Twitter and Twitch accounts at the SOTG. And of course, if you miss all that and still want to listen to it live rather than on a podcast or any of your podcast catchers, check out oldschool101.com, 12 noon on Sunday leading up to the NFL football game. Here's the thing. Why is it that we have to always analyze things in terms of the negative, right? Now, I get it. There's no positive in the Giants giving up 40 points while being goose-egged. You know, that I can understand that approach. Throw the tape away. I get it. If you're a Steeler fan, it's kind of hard to find a positive. A Bengal fan, even for that matter, even though, you know, the Bengals, for some reason, seem to have to try to come into every season with some sort of adversity, be it an appendectomy or not an ACL tear, but some sort of a leg injury here in this case to win Joey Bah. That's all fine. But so here's the thing. The Monday night game, and I don't want to talk too much about the Chiefs and the Lions yet. We're gonna have Wild Card Mar of the IOW Sports Show here on soon enough to talk plenty of Chiefs in that action. I don't want to go too soon on that. And for those of you that are non-believers, of course, I've heard to none other than Lamar Wallace. So, by the way, look out for him on Play Callers matchup mania there that you'll find on YouTube as well. But Monday night, you know, Aaron Charlie Rodgers and his big injury has been the talk of the town in a large way in the NFL. I'm not going to go and be truly cynical with the I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen concept there. Those of us here on this show, me, saw Aaron Charles Rodgers as kind of an injury risk. After all, he was getting injured during preseason. And, oh, by the way, has a bad offensive line. 3 snaps in, I was told that you could see the impact that the line had on the situation. And, well, then the fourth sack happened, or not sack, but fourth snap happened, and, well, the rest is history, unfortunately. And I don't want to be one of these that's, you know, speculating whether Rodgers' career is over or any of that stuff. That's not what I'm here to do. What I am here to talk about is the Jets' defense. Now, I know everybody's taking their opportunities to take shots and criticize Josh Allen. Hey, listen, I'm not against that. Everybody seems to forget that I was the dude that called Stephon Diggs the most valuable offensive player on the Bills for the past couple of years since he arrived. I have video evidence of that fact. Granted, nobody uses Haps anymore that I'm aware of, so nobody else has seen that video, I don't think. But I can guarantee you that it exists. But instead of focusing how bad Josh Allen was, why are we talking enough about how good this Jets defense was? And that's really the crime here. Sure, nobody wanted to see Aaron Charles Rodgers get hurt. I get that. But the real crime is the rest of the personnel may have actually looked like it's been there. We're going to see a situation we haven't seen the likes of which since Jameis Winston was in Tampa and did what he did with that roster. And they were in that place where, like, hey, we have this roster. All we need is a really good quarterback. Matter of fact, we have an opportunity getting an aging all-time great. At least that's what Tampa did, and ended up a Super Bowl with it. The Jets, it would appear, did or attempted to do the very same thing. And I cannot fault them for that, except for one in particular flaw. What I remember about the the Bucks draft is a clip during the draft of an offensive lineman prospect jumping out of the pool while in the water, showing off his massive strength and skills and agility all in one fell swoop. It wasn't just some sort of this isn't like pool aerobics like my mom does, okay? No. Tristan Wirfs was one of the big reasons that group was successful. And the Jets kind of opted to omit that part. Meh, it's Aaron. He'll be fine, right? We got a good running game. And, in his late 20s, heck, he would lead the Packers in rushing yards sometime. Ooh. And you're also aware how much your turf stinks, and you still thought that was a plan. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I still want to give credit to this Jets defense and what they can do and what a year they'll have. Will they win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But I didn't think the Jets were going to win the Super Bowl anyway. But I'm not prepared to put them out of playoff contention yet. I'm not going to guarantee they make the playoffs. I'm not here for hot takes like Big Jim Neese is of the Huddle Up podcast. Bing! But I think somebody needs to throw some loves at these cats because they have the potential to be a really awesome story. And unfortunately, unless something amazing happens, like Zach Wilson evolves suddenly to being the prospect I never thought he could be, that's right, I said it, they're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. But enough about things that are in a whole lot of trouble. Let's talk about how things are going well in another form of football. We'll get back to the NFL later. I've seen too much awesome stuff that I'm still trying to make sense of in college football, and I needed a great college football mind to discuss it with. And I have the advantage of being locally with the Orlando Sentinel's own, Matt Murschel. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, listen, man, I just wanted to lead with some positivity because all I've heard is like, oh, this team was so bad. First of all, everybody stopped criticizing the 49ers. Notice how that happened there, Matt? I just, all of a sudden we're trying to fire people, and now, wait, who are the 49ers? What happened? Anyways, no, I homered a little bit. My bad. But there's so much to be positive about, and yet, I mean, I know doom and gloom sells papers, but dang it, Anyways, listen, man, and I don't know if you heard me open with the Deion Sanders remix open because he is officially 2-0 now. And I just wanted to jump through this with you real quick, just on a couple things. How impressed are you with what you're seeing out of the Buffalo in 2 games, in a 2-game sample size?
Well, I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, listen, anytime you can rework your roster, I think it was 60, 70, 80% of it is transfers. I mean, it's impressive because I think the hardest thing to build on a team is chemistry. And, and to do that with guys who are all over the country, and you brought them in and you said, okay, you've got, 3-4 months to get them together and get them ready to go. I mean, that's impressive to me. I mean, and they've looked good at times, but there's also cracks in the armor. I mean, I've been telling people this for the last couple of days. I've got people who say, Colorado's going to win the national championship. And I'm like, you got to pump the brakes on that, man. I mean, listen, Shedeur Sanders has been sacked 11 times in 2 games. He got sacked 7 times against Nebraska. Their offensive line is not great. And, he can't take a beating like that. It's not going to last that long. Yes, they've got talent. Travis Hunter is amazing, and he does amazing things. And they've got other players who are really talented on that roster, but they haven't been tested yet. I mean, listen, TCU is a good team again, but not really. Wait till they get to USC. Wait till they get to, Oregon, which who they're going to face in a couple weeks. Wait till they get to, the part of the Pac-12, which has 8 teams. That's right, 8 teams ranked right now in the top 25. So I think there's going to be challenges there. I think there's going to be challenges they're going through. But it's impressive. I mean, listen, he's got the team excited. He's got the fan base excited. He's got national media talking about it. I mean, Fox just does backflips. I mean, they put them on basically every week now. So it's worked out well for them, And now all of a sudden you're hearing people claiming, oh, now Deion wants to go to the NFL. He's going to go to the NFL and be the Cowboys coach in a couple of years. It's like, let the guy just have some time to get the Colorado program together. But it's been impressive. But I'm not on the bandwagon of let's say Colorado's going to win the Pac-12 and get to the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I'm a bit of a loss because I haven't knee jerked that much, but I will tell you what I do like. Okay, I like that Shedeur Sanders is at least getting Heisman consideration. Do I think he should win it today? No, there's still a couple dudes like Michael Penix and maybe you heard of this Williams kid out in USC. I get that. I would give him more votes than, let's say, a Jordan Travis, for example, with Shedeur Sanders. I get that he's been impressive, but and I see you wincing a bit, but where's the competition? Jordan Travis did it against LSU as well. That definitely deserves consideration, but I don't dislike that he's on the list. No. They're going to win the national championship. I'm with you. That's nuts. But they're in the top 18. I don't dislike that. I get that they're probably there because of popularity, right? Coaching trees are a thing, and if you're as popular as Deion is, I don't care how old you are or aren't. People know who you are, right? I mean, we talk about Gus Malzahn over at UCF having his own coaching tree that branches out. Deion has the same sort of thing, except, well, listen, I don't think at a party anybody's going to confuse who's going to be more fun, whether it be Coach Prime or Coach Gus. And I don't even think Gus would take that any offense, even though Coach Prime imitated UCF with the whole QR code on the jersey thing. But whatever. The punchline being, though, the reason why I like it the most is if they do Nick's bow against Oregon, see what I did there, Matt, and somehow, by some miracle, on some distant planet, on some distant day, take down USC, I think they should at least be in the top 10 for a while until they actually do blow a game, which they, one has to think they're going to, right? This is a team where the over under was 4.5. Like, it's going to happen, right? Yeah. But,
well, I mean, I thought against Nebraska, Nebraska, if Nebraska's offensive played anywhere, competent, if Jeff Sims isn't fumbling the ball every 2 minutes, I think Nebraska could have made that game a lot closer. It was really close in the first half. You remember that. And then the second half, they just kind of poured it on. They're going to face a team that, like I said, the USCs, the Oregons will maybe put some points up early, build up a little bit of a lead, and then make them come from behind. And that's where the challenge is. That's what I told someone the other day. I want to see them face adversity. I want to see them what happens when they get a loss. How does this team react? It's not just we're the best thing in the world. It's all of a sudden now you got to find a way to react and come back from that. And I think that's going to be the challenge. And especially if they lose 2 or 3 games, that's when all of a sudden you start to change your priorities a little bit as a team, and you think, okay, we can't go to the playoff, and okay, we may not be in the mix for the Pac-12. What do you what's there to play for outside of yourselves and your teammates? So that's where I want to see where this team kind of can rise up and maybe get to that next level. I still think Colorado's maybe 3 years away. I mean, maybe 2 years. I mean, again, he's going to hit the portal again on the offseason. Sure. They're going to add more pieces. He's going to recruit and get the kids to come there. I think they'll be on the cusp every year, at least for the next couple of years. But we're talking Colorado football. We haven't done that since Rashawn Salam, was playing and doing his bit. And Colorado was beating Michigan, So that's something that's important for Colorado. It's important for college football in a lot of ways.
I mean, I know the big play I remember is Cordell Stewart with that bomb, right? That's I know it's going way back, Matt, but listen, I know the last thing I'll say about this is you mentioned the facing of adversity. I kind of think that's what we saw with Nebraska because they're such a different style team than any Big 12 team. I know they play in the Pac-12 but hear me out. They're not, the Big 12 is not known for physical play foremost, whereas the Big 10 is. And give what you will about Nebraska's offense. Up front on defense, they were stout, and I just didn't think they knew how to handle that yet. And then they made that adjustment and still won convincingly. I'm with you, though. Until they do battle with Oregon, I'm not ready to join any of the, national competitor talk yet, but I'm every bit impressed. And it's such a great story, man. This is the springboard to the first step. Let's keep him out of the NFL for a while. And who knows? You're assuming Deion wants to go to the NFL. I've heard no indication. If he's truly into motivating young men, what the hell would he do in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I think an NFL type the rumors and stuff you're hearing this year. I mean, that's just what happens when
Yeah.
coaches have success. And then, someone says, well, listen, his personality would be great in the NFL. Not really. I don't know if it would fit well in the NFL, to be honest with you, because again, what attracts the young men to his program is his personality and his dynamic, and it's Dion, and it's, and then they want to play for you. That's not going to happen in the NFL. NFL, you got a general manager who signs a player, the player shows up, he's getting a contract, he's going to play however he wants to play because he's getting paid to do it, and he doesn't really care if it's a Dion or not. He's just trying to find out, where am I going to win? You know what I mean? In the NFL, that's when coaching really becomes a key aspect. It's not personality so much as it is you actually are good. You have to be a good coach to win in the NFL. There's a reason why Bill Belichick has so many rings on his fingers, because he understands how to coach. He understands what's necessary. You may not like the guy, and he has no personality maybe, but that's fine. He wins games, And so that's where I think Dion fits better in college football landscape, because especially with a transfer portal NIL world, because he really fits into that kind of, really outside personality, but boisterous personality that I think people and kids and athletes really kind of gravitate towards.
So since you mentioned Belichick, I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to dad joke myself into the segue here. We're on to Tallahassee. Let's talk some FSU, man, because listen, I know it's been a couple weeks since we saw the Camping World kickoff that took place here, neutral site Orlando, whatever, and they did what they did against LSU. I was thoroughly impressed. Jordan Travis did Jordan Travis things. I like that. Their receiver core. That guy Wilson is 6'7", and he wasn't even the biggest factor in the game at receiver. Whoa, but what impresses me is that defensive front. Man, listen, if you can get pushed like that against an SEC team, I'm thoroughly impressed. But here's where I'm at. Here's my conspiracy theory. And you've been on this show where I've supplanted my respect for the ACC, or should I say indulged my lack thereof. But I think Dabo Swinney's the biggest obstacle to the Seminoles getting to a playoff, in that he let his old age point of view take over. Clemson's now struggling, and they were the one big nationally ranked preseason team left on FSU's schedule, which means at this point, Matt, not only is the margin of error so small, in other words, I feel like they have to kind of clean up at this point to prevent, like, let's say, a second SEC team or a second Big Ten team to come in, especially if Ohio State beats Notre Dame this weekend, which I know that's not a lot, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think that puts FSU in a horrible position to where they have to be that perfect. Am I off my rocker here?
No, I think they're going to have to, they're going to have to play well, but they're going to be games. I think they're going to be challenges. Listen, I'm still not 100% sold that they pummel, Clemson. I think Dabo Swinney is a good coach, and I think he's going through some struggles, and some of those are self-inflicted. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you kind of turn your back on the transfer portal with this idea that, it's not really going to, it's not what I want to do. Well, listen, even Nick Saban's embraced the transfer portal. I mean, he's figured out you're going to have to find a way to get players in there, and I think that's what's hurting Clemson right now is they've lacked some areas where they could have developed some guys. They could have brought in some experienced guys from the portal, which would have helped them. So. But I'm looking at this. I think Florida State's biggest challenge could be Duke. Could be Duke. It could be a team that no one is talking about, but Duke has looked really good. The Riley Leonard's a great quarterback. I think Mike Elko's a defensive-minded guy. He's going to find a way to make it a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for them. And I think Miami. Everyone's talking now. Okay, well now Mario's back and everything, and Miami's back. So wait and see what happens there. But for Florida State, they have to kind of navigate the schedule. They got to make sure that when they win as well as they can. And they got to look impressive. You're right. You talk about until you get to late October when they start doing the college football playoff rankings, you're just going to have to kind of keep your way up there. And I think the ACC has a problem when you look at how many teams are in the rankings. I mean, really outside of Clemson and Florida State and Duke. I mean, it's not like they've got power teams where the SEC has so many and the Big Ten has a lot, and even the Pac-12 now. So Florida State's going to have to find a way to really kind of become that elite team again and be the voice of the ACC right now. And there's going to be some, like I said, there's going to be some challenges. They've got to avoid a disastrous letdown somewhere. Like this weekend going up to Boston College, where you got storm issues to deal with and Hurricane Lee and everything like that. They've got to avoid something happening where they just, lay an egg, and then all of a sudden, all that goodwill you've built up falls out the door. They got to get to that Clemson game and that Duke game, and then see where it kind of goes from there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm not sure who they play leading into Duke or Clemson, but yeah, I mean, if there's
Boston College is this weekend. That's the one.
okay, so that
and then they go to Clemson. So that's
I thought that was 3 weeks away. Okay, yeah, then exactly. So then, yeah, BC has trap game written all over it. I totally get that. I would get Admiral Akbar down, but I don't want to interrupt the show too much. See, no, he's right up there, the figurine. I'm just saying.
There you go.
No, but,
and listen, then you throw in our local tie. I mean, you got Tommy Castellanos, who's the Boston College quarterback. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know what's going to happen. The guy who came in and really kind of ignited Boston College's offense last weekend as his first start. I mean, who knows what could happen? I mean, all it takes is a little blip here or there. Next thing you know, you've stumbled in, as you mentioned, a trap.
Good gravy. Can you imagine FSU alums like already being worried about getting less TV money than UCF? Then Castellanos beats them. Oh, I don't even want to think about that. Anyways, with all that in mind, yeah, you mentioned Cristobal earlier. I'll touch on that. How much is that Miami being back? Well, okay, let's not say Miami back. Texas did more to convince me they're back this week than Miami did. Okay, ironically involving another Texas team, but. Is that more about Cristobal's ascension as it is? Jimbo Fisher's kind of decline out there because, and based on his buyout, it doesn't feel like he's going to go anywhere. But like, which do you think? There's always elements of both in situations like that. But which do you more kind of attribute it to?
I'm more attribute to Mario. I think that he did some good things in the offseason. I think, when they had to make some moves on the coaching staff, they brought in a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. I think their offense is a lot more diverse than it was last year. I think Tyler Van Dyke looks like the player he was, 2 years ago when he was ACC Freshman of the Year. They did a good job of protecting him. He's been able to find his receivers. They've, a lot of versatility and like their special teams as well. They're running the football. I think defensively they did a good job of putting pressure on Texas A&M front. So I think they've done the things that they needed to do, to make those adjustments. I think they also upgraded, some of the positions. We talk about another UCF player. Look at Matt Lee. Matt Lee comes in at center. He provides them a lot of stability in the middle of the offensive line. They kind of needed some of that to fill some holes. So that's what Mario's done really well. I think Jimbo's issue is I just think that one of the things that he struggled with, and I don't know if it's fault so much, but they haven't developed a quarterback. He's been there for so long, and that's been one of the things that when they hired him, they figured, okay, he's going to sit back and develop these quarterbacks, and they're going to be great. It just seems like he hasn't been able to pick a guy, or they have been able to get a guy who's come in and fit the system really well. And their offense just a struggle. I mean, at times, and Bobby Petrino was brought in to be offensive coordinator. People, are stunned to see him come back in college football, and it's good. And they haven't really necessarily gelled as well. But you're right, that buyout's big. But let's not forget, Texas A&M boosters and donors have lots of money. If they really want to get rid of Jimbo, they'll do the buyout. But I always bring the factor up is who do you bring in to replace Jimbo? Because I mean, it's not like unless you can find another big name coach or someone you feel like is going to fit that program well. Who do you're not going to go out and hire a G5 coach and bring him in there and try to make him maybe successful unless it's some really successful G5 coach. I just think if you're one of those guys and you win 8 or 9 games, I think that's just who you are as Texas A&M. Eventually, you're going to have to find a way to get over that hump because believe me, you got Texas and Oklahoma coming in, and that just adds more to the pie and makes things a lot more difficult.
Keeping it in the state, and we kind of mentioned him in passing at least twice. UCF did impressive stuff, in my opinion, overcoming all the, albeit self-inflicted wounds, beating Boise State, a program that is famous for being a giant killer, in position to kill UCF, now finally a giant, right? But they managed to survive. But I'm going to call one of those. It's one of those I call a Bunker Hill victory. Matt, with JRP going down. I mean, John Rice Plumlee, you like that he doesn't have surgery, but I'm pretty sure UCF would have preferred to have him to debut Big 12 play. But that being said, UCF, I think it is they're statistically awesome on defense, which I mean, credit to that defensive front. But with these first, assuming they take care of business against Villanova, with Timmy McClain at quarterback. Going into Big 12 play at 3-0, you got to admit that's a healthy start for them to at least eventually get bowl eligibility, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's got to be Gus's goal. That must have been his goal. Was listen, we got to go 3-0. We go 3-0. We go to Kansas State. Okay, we know a top 15 team. Defending Big 12 champions. If something happens, we don't win that game. We're 3-1. Okay, and then you look at the schedule and think, okay, we got Baylor. Baylor's a team that struggled. I mean, before the season started, I don't think you're thinking that. You got Kansas. Kansas looks good. I mean, that's going to be a challenge on the road again. You got Oklahoma. That's going to be good. So there's games I'm sure you pick and think, okay, this is going to help us out. Well, then you think you're going to have John Rice Plumlee when that happens. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you're looking at the fact you got to deal with a backup, and we don't know how long John Rice is going to be out. I mean, the Gus says a few weeks, but a few weeks could be 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I mean, it could be half the season. I mean, depending on what's going on. I mean, obviously it didn't require surgery, whatever it is, so it can't be any sort of tear. So my guess is it's probably just some sort of swelling in the knee or something like that. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so don't take my. I mean, and all we know is, and Gus wouldn't even really say it was the knee. I asked him specifically, and he kind of knee, and then he changed in mid sentence and said, but it's a leg injury. So I mean, I'm assuming it's the knee, but again, so we just don't know. So the reason they got Timmy McClain was they wanted him to step in, and they wanted an experienced guy to be the backup. I think he's going to do fine. I mean, I think the best possible scenario in this is them playing Villanova this weekend, right? Because he gets to go out and really kind of see how things are going, work out any sort of maybe timing issues, work out any sort of issues with the offense, and if they put some points up this weekend, that'd be great. And then you go on the road and you see what happens. And I mean, being 3-0, great way to start, and halfway there to bowl eligibility. And I think then you start, maybe there's some games that maybe you can pick and choose and win, not pick and choose, but you can win some games maybe on the schedule that maybe can get you closer to that mark as well. So listen, UCF hasn't been 3-0 since 2019. So, that's something that they're really going to have to try to go for as a big mark. And they've done it with the offense and the defense as well. I was doing some research today, Kyle, and, their defense right now is only giving up 22 points in the first 2 games. There's only like 16 other teams in the country that have done that. And among those teams are Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. So they're in a kind of elite group when you're talking about like how their defense is played up front. And I think that's one of the key issues, one of the key reasons why they are where they are now.
Yeah, and I think, listen, not for nothing. I know I often make the joke with some of my other guys that, the Big 12 is where defense goes to die. But if UCF has a defensive front like this, it makes them somewhat unique within the conference in question. So I think it's an interesting approach. It's just unfortunate we won't get a true experiment like we're talking about here with Plumlee missing X games. And the last thing UCF wants to do is set up a scenario where John Rice starts a game but then has to basically leave early or is only so effective, i.e. The bowl game against Duke or even last year against USF, which, speaking of USF, they're about to get obliterated by Bama in angry fashion. What did you think of Texas overcoming Bama? I kind of saw it coming, but it's still a big deal, right?
Oh yeah, very big deal. I mean, listen, you talk about wins that, I'm not even talking to the wins specifically. You needed something to boost that program. And I think Steve Sarkisian knows they're on the right track. But going to Alabama and winning in a place that's one of the hardest places to win in college football, to do it against a team like, Alabama, I mean, that was impressive. I mean, they took care of the football as much as they could. Their defense was outstanding. You saw how they got after, Jalen Milroe. They really kind of made it difficult on him. I think Alabama's got issues, way issues when it comes to their offensive line and some other areas. But Texas was able to take advantage of that. And now they kind of can move forward and say, okay, they're not going to use the word back phrase, but they're going to go out there and they'll try to see what they can do. And they're clearly looking like the favorite in the Big 12. Now, what they have to avoid is like we talked about earlier with some of these other teams, is you don't want a trap game. You don't want to go into somewhere where you think you're better than that and you'll lose. I mean, look, go back to Texas. Was it last year where they started out like 6-0, and then they ran into Oklahoma, and then it all fell apart. The wheels fell off the thing, and they finished barely above 500. That's kind of what you don't want to see happen. I mean, and I think that's so having a win like this really kind of solidifies what you're trying to do. And again, it also shows that, like I mentioned, Alabama's got a lot of problems, and it's going to be interesting to see Alabama. You mentioned them going to USF this weekend. They're going to take out a lot of their pain this weekend in Tampa, believe me. And I know USF fans are thinking, yeah, we got a chance. But I mean, I believe that Nick Saban is he's going to let it all hang out on that game and try to put up as many points to build confidence in his team and to quiet maybe the people who keep saying the Alabama dynasty is over.
Yeah, and you got to. And frankly, I don't think it's about the Bama dynasty over. I think it's about the rest of the country catching up. This is a situation that's more like Dream Team in basketball on the world stage than it is about anybody declining. Heck, I think Joel Klatt put it best. They're plateauing. They're not declining. Everyone else is just getting better. I say. Anyways, before we completely get out of the state here, and I neglected to bring up Billy Napier, Florida soon to face Tennessee this weekend. Listen, with no disrespect to Josh Heupel and the Volunteers, I'm not sure they're an 11th ranked team, but I am pretty sure that Billy Napier is going to have his hands full doing battle with them. What's your take on that particular game, man?
Yeah, I think so. Again, one thing that's impressed me about Josh Heupel teams, even when he's at UCF and even now last year at Tennessee, is they're a fast-paced team. They're going to throw the ball downfield. They're going to want to move the ball up and down the field. I don't know if Florida's equipped to handle that. I mean, it's not like they're a team that, they've got good defensive players, but, listen, when you got to kind of, up and down the field, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And I don't know if Florida's offense, can be that kind of offense. I mean, it's got to be in a shootout. I mean, Graham Mertz is fine. I mean, he's serviceable. And I mean, that's never a phrase you want to use when you're looking at a drafted quarterback. He's serviceable. But right. I mean, he's out there doing what he needs to do. But they need to run the football. I mean, I think everyone kind of tends to forget that Billy Napier's kind of resume has been built on running the football. Those are his offenses. And then he works that passing game around that with play action, RPOs, those kind of things to mix that in. But if you can't run the football, I mean, it makes you one-dimensional. Then teams can really take advantage of that. So I think that helps Florida, obviously, to be at home in the swamp. They'll have the crowd. My thing is, I think Florida has to jump out early. I think they have to grab the early lead. I think they have to get the crowd into the game. They got to kind of put, Tennessee back on its heels a little bit. And then I think maybe they can kind of find a way to try to win that game. But if Tennessee comes out and just, goes up early and starts throwing the ball around the field, even running the game, that's something that a lot better job this year is running the football. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how Florida stays in this game. I mean, they just don't have that kind of high-powered offense. This isn't a 40, 50-point, type of offense, so they're going to have to keep it close.
Yeah, what was it? I think Florida's already getting a touchdown at least, from what I saw too. So yeah, there's no surprise there. One last thing before I let you go, man, and this, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this yet, but at this point I feel well justified. In the preseason, I said that, listen, everybody knows Caleb Williams is probably going to win the Heisman, even though it's the second time and it's difficult, blah, blah, blah. But if that defense at USC has improved as much as alleged, and they don't need him to bomb 60 or 70 points every week, that's an exaggeration, obviously, to win the game, his stats will be a little lower, possibly. This is the data man thinking the conspiracy theory. If all that happens, I got Michael Penix as a dark horse candidate out of Washington as a Heisman. Am I out of my mind?
No, I mean, the Washington's offense, Kalen DeBoer, the coach at Washington, is known for producing high-powered offenses. He did it at Fresno State. He's developed quarterbacks. They put up big numbers. I mean, look at guys like Derek Carr. I mean, when he was so Michael Penix fits that model. I mean, and I think he can, with that offense, he can put up a lot of points. And the only thing that's unfortunate for him is he plays in the West Coast. Yes. And, a lot of East Coast Heisman voters just don't have chance to sit there and watch some of these West Coast Pac-12 games. So he's luckily had a couple early games. I think that's going to help him out as well. But there's going to be other players who are going to kind of make a big push. We talked about, you mentioned Jordan Travis. If Florida State looks good and rolls past Clemson and Duke and looks good, and looks good on that front, he's going to get a lot of look on that as well.
Oh yeah.
And if North Carolina continues to run, I mean, Drake May could get some good looks. I think they're guys right now that are just kind of Marvin Harrison Jr. We haven't had a wide receiver in a while. He's a guy for Ohio State who could really be a guy who gets a lot of attention if they come out and continue to run well. So there's teams right now, I think, that you're seeing that they're guys where could make a move. But I think you're not crazy at all for Penix being, I mean, a Heisman winner. I mean, he can put up the numbers, and if they can go undefeated or they can get to the Pac-12 championship, even somehow get into the playoff mix, I mean, he's going to be right there. But I said the one thing that detracts on that has always been the East Coast. You'll get East Coast guys who they're old scribes, old voters who will go to bed at 10 o'clock at night on East Coast and not watch a late Washington game because they don't think anything of it.
Well, Matt Murschel, I know you're not that guy. I've seen your dedication in person. I'm right there with you, covering Kent State games late into the night, baby. I got you.
No, I don't go to bed by 10.
No,
at least I did until this week when I was getting jet lagged from the Boise trip. So that was
that is way different, Matt Murschel. Hold on a minute there. You're fighting time zones. But anyways, tell the people where you can be found, my friend.
You can check out my stuff at OrlandoSentinel.com, or you can go me on X, Twitter, whatever you call it now. It's OS Matt Murschel. I got some good stuff up. I just put up a feature on Colton Boomer, the UCF kicker. Got a chance to really kind of follow him for a couple days. Really good stuff there. And then obviously we got lots of stuff on John Rice Plumlee being out, Timmy McClain's debut. And then you got Villanova game on Saturday, and we also got my colleagues got great stuff. Edgar Thompson for the Gators, obviously got a lot of good stuff following them as well.
I'm planning running into Beebs at the Magic event on Friday here, so he's
going to be there. He's going to be. I mean, I talked to him the other day when I got back from Boise. He still looked like it was a good trip, so we chatted a little bit. So it's always good to catch up with everybody.
Oh, it's always fun to see Jason Beatty doing his work for the Magic with the Sentinel as well. I'm plugging everybody, Matt Murschel.
Plug everybody. Get everybody in there.
An honor, joy, and privilege, my friend. We could go on, but hey, listen, we got to leave something for the press box. I'll catch you later, brother.
All right, man. I'll catch you to the press box this weekend.
Take care, Matt. And listen, always fun to talk college football with a great mind. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm looking forward to this one. Okay. Normally when I talk Chiefs, I have our own Brian Paul BP on the show, but this man is a vibe all his own that I had to get in. The only reason I don't have my chocolate peanut butter stout ready is because I've been sick all this week and playing hurt. But this dude is ready to go to have a bit of a party with me. My man of IOW Sports. Wow, come on. What's going on, brother?
My man Kyle, man. Hey, and as promised,
my man.
Now ready, beer in hand. Let's get to it, my brother.
All right, you got yours, dude. Listen, I'm just getting over a big stomach bug, man. So that's why I don't have mine. I listen, just take a sip in my honor while I get your intro going. We'll be all set, my guy. Hey, Modelo's good-ish, bro. I respect that. That's a good brew. I ain't going front on that.
Always. Drink a choice over here.
Hey, man, listen. I half the reason you're here is because you're tasting in libation and vice, brother. I get you. Listen, man. Let me get the tough stuff out the way.
Yeah.
The good news I have for you is on the Huddle Up podcast. Bing. Where my buddy EJ Christian still had your Chiefs second overall in the power ranking, despite the loss in question.
And that's a lot of love.
But I think it's well respected. I feel if you had Travis Michael Kelce in the roster, if Kadarius Toney doesn't act like he deserves a Tony Award,
Butterfingers.
I feel like y'all still win that football game. But here's the thing. And let me start with that. Do you agree with that analysis that if either one of those things are different, you in fact have a victory?
I definitely, I'll say this. I know we did miss Travis Kelce, especially Patrick Mahomes. You can see the frustration in his face.
Sure.
After Cats kept dropping the damn football, and then he's like, man, I wish 87 was out here. I wouldn't have this issue. But I'll say this. If now the pick six, it happened so early in the third quarter, the Chiefs, they were able to get past it. It was the drop that was right before the 2-minute mark. That's what really killed them. Because I looked at that and I looked at the all 22. If Kadarius catches that, he has a linebacker trailing him. And the linebacker's not catching him. And the only person that probably could have caught him was CJ Gardner-Johnson. Otherwise, he definitely gets in field goal range, possibly gets paid dirt. So that one was, to me, was more costly than the pick six, ironically. I
agree entirely because Patrick LaVon Mahomes II went all Patrick LaVon Mahomes II and scored the touchdown right before the half. to the tight end that wasn't Travis Michael Kelce. So I
Yeah.
thought he canceled that out pretty well. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. So I'm hoping that Travis could get on the field this week. I haven't really been hearing any kind of news on his health, so who knows?
yeah, I feel like that's been kind of kept quiet too. But as we record this, it's only Wednesday. Who knows what's going to drop here in the practice report here on
True
Thursday
that.
or Friday. But, and this is the part that frightens me as somebody who covers the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would have loved to see a 2-0 so I have a chance to cover a playoff game again. But man, you got Big Sexy in the middle coming back, man. Chris Jones coming back just in time for the Jacksonville Jaguars to not already have issues in the interior line, but Brandon Treff is injured as well. I mean, from a scale of Sonic the Hedgehog to Miley Cyrus, what kind of a wrecking ball is he going to come in as here this weekend, man? I'm worried about that.
To be honest, you know, I didn't know the status of the Jacksonville Jaguars online, but
You're welcome.
I was already looking at it this way. I was looking at the fact that the Chiefs just went up against a good O-line in Detroit, and they fared well. You know, in the trenches. They weren't able to obviously to get pressure up the middle, little to none, obviously for obvious reasons. But he's back, and I'm thinking that you know, he's ready to quiet all the noise around him. So I'm expecting a huge game from Chris Jones. To me, there's no other way to play coming back off the holdout, and you know, things were said on social media, and you know, if you ask me, I think he took bad advice from his agents, but I'm no expert.
I mean, you know, we ain't stockbrokers over here. No, I hear you, but I mean, look here, man. Listen, as somebody with a little bit of a retirement portfolio, I'm willing to tell you, I agree. I don't think he had the best what happened. But listen, sometimes you fight the law and the law wins, man. It is what it is.
Yeah.
At least he's getting more than a running back. Am I right? Anyway, too soon was that? And anyway.
Nah, never too soon.
I'm a fat guy. I spent so much time protecting them. It's all right. I'll get my goodwill back. Anyway,
got to get it in.
No, man. But see, I like what you mentioned about the intangibles, the other factors there, because I think this defense on the whole is going to get a lift. And I don't care how great Calvin Ridley's return to action was, which I wrote about as a member of the Jaguar Report of SI. Bing!
Another plug.
Listen, man, your logo is flying free on my show too. That's what we do here. Anyway, by the way, I saw how much you were nodding at my Michael Penix point. That touched my heart. Thank you,
bro. Hey, Michael Penix was doing this thing in Indiana, and they somehow couldn't keep him there. And I when I saw him 2 years ago or last year when he went to UW, I was like, oh, there's Michael Penix. Oh, he still has an arm. Oh, he's still good. Okay.
and by the way, he's not playing against Big Ten caliber defenses, so there's that. I mean, you know,
hey, showcase your skills. Why not?
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that gets you that long flight to New York. Anyways, no disrespect to Matt Murschel, you know, talking about Jordan Travis and Marvin Harrison Jr. getting there. That's all great, but I think Penix is I'm on record. I said what I said. If it's not Caleb Williams, it's gonna be Michael Penix.
Hey,
listen, I was critical of Washington last year, but there's something about them this year that I like better coming in. Anyways, enough about the tangent. I'm all crazy.
Hey,
but the lift that the Chiefs could get on defense is just in time to get what I think is an explosive skill player core for the Jags. I mean, I can make the argument, Mar, that for the first half of the season, this is the most talented skill set of players that you'll come across. Am I nuts?
No, you're not nuts, because if you look at the division that the Chiefs play in, there's really not too much skill in Denver. Let's be honest about that situation.
And Jerry Jeudy's out.
And he's out. Yeah, he's out. So that's pretty much your skill position right there. The Chargers, I'm expecting an injury from Mike Williams and Keenan Allen at some point in time. You know, it's going to happen sooner or later. And the Raiders, you just got Devontae Adams, and then you got Josh Jacobs, but Chris Jones is back. He can neutralize Josh Jacobs. So that leaves that. Outside the division in the conference, hey, Jaguars got it. Come on, Evan Ingram, he earned his contract extension. Calvin Ridley had a hell of a game for pretty much almost a 2-year layoff.
If he didn't step out of bounds to set up the Zay Jones touchdown, he would have had 102 touchdowns before the half.
Hey, he bought. Zay Jones did well. And Zay Jones is one of those undercover wide receivers that don't get a lot of recognition, but I know he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit, but hey, he's still a solid receiver.
Hey, listen, I got a guy to win a few games in fantasy by giving him up as a sleeper. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And believe it or not, I know Christian Kirk numbers didn't look too sexy last week, but he's still viable to get off. Travis Etienne did well. So, hey, look at the collection that the Jaguars have. You definitely got some good skilled players that can get the job done for sure.
I think the main thing we know about this game is take the over. Do you agree?
Well, it depends on where Vegas has the number at, because in 2 matchups last year, you're looking at probably around 53-ish, 48, 49 points combined in both games. You're talking about a 1-possession game in the regular season and in the playoffs, like 27-20, I believe. I can't remember if they end up having the same score in both instances, but you're almost looking at 47 to 54 in that range of where both games kind of landed at last year. So it depends on where Vegas puts it, and I'll make my judgment on Sunday where I should put my money at, to be honest.
That's fair. It's only Wednesday, but let me tell you why I think so. First of all, the Jags, even though with no disrespect to Marvin Jones, please, are that much better with Calvin Ridley, are that much better at the running back position, because listen, I am going to eat more crow than any scarecrow in any Wizard of Oz scenario ever on how wrong I am about Tank Bigsby, and I'm just going to keep admitting it so people don't talk that much trash. I'm controlling the narrative. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. That's called the Taylor Swift defense, Mar. I am not ashamed.
Hey, no shame, bro. No shame.
No, just like you're here with your black and mild. I knew you were in trouble when you walked in. Anyways, that's right. I Taylor Swifted you. But on top of that, not only do the Jags have more skilled players, I think also Arden Key, for example, elements of the Jags pass rush that made somewhat of a difference, even though they couldn't even get to Chad Henne in the playoff game in question. That offensive line is not made up of the same elements, and familiarity with Jawan Taylor might be a factor. I listen, I'm not one of these that, as a lineman, I'm not one of these guys that cries and whines about his gimmick. He found a way. Listen, this isn't Bill Belichick. This is a dude consulting dudes. Hey, can I do this? And,
Hey, end of the day, I've seen Lane Johnson do it. I've seen Trent Williams do it. I've seen some of the best tackles do it. If the refs aren't going to throw the flag, is it illegal?
I mean, listen, brother. Here's the thing: if somebody's leaving that early, here, let me show my credentials again. Bam, there you go. If somebody's leaving that early as an offensive lineman myself, that puts him at risk for a bull rush. So if he wants to try that against Trayvon Walker, I'm going to be very curious to see how that goes.
And it's funny you say that, Kyle, because I'm looking at the fact that even Josh Allen walked away with 3 sacks last week, and Trayvon got his 1. I'm gonna be honest. I know there's familiarity with Jawan Taylor, but I'm actually kind of a little bit slightly worried about more with my other tackle on the left side. And it escapes my name, Donovan Smith.
Of course.
Yeah, that kind of scares me a little bit, because I BS you not. I got some flashbacks of Orlando Brown Jr. last week with him, where he couldn't handle the speed rush. And there was a couple of times Hutch had a game. All right. Hutch had a game. And I know they ended up with 0 sacks, Detroit, but they easily could have walked away with 4 or 5. And they attacked Donovan Jones' side on the left side very well. He had a couple of holding penalties. And I'm looking at more like Donovan Jones, and I am more worried about Jawan Taylor, because even though he did get the early start per se, he kind of held his own a little bit against Hutch. So it was kind of like a back and forth between them. Hutch got him sometimes, and then sometimes Jawan got Hutch. So I'm more comfortable with Jawan Taylor on his side. I'm not so comfortable with Donovan Smith on that left side.
That's a fascinating take. Anyways, hey, look, always good to talk a little trench warfare with my guy. Anyway,
trench warfare determines the outcome of the scoreboard, and people don't need to recognize that. All right.
well, hey, you know what? You know who another credible source of that information comes from? Nick Sirianni. You might have heard of him. He told me the same thing. Anyway, all right, man. Listen, that's a fun time, brother. You want to get these picks in? Let's get some picks in, brother.
Let's do it.
All right, man. First off, we'll open it up Thursday night. The Vikings head to Philadelphia against the Eagles. Mar, who you got?
Well, I mean, some things, change and some things remain the same. It's a primetime game, right? If I'm a betting man, hey, I don't care. I know the Eagles are a little banged up on their football team right now. Had some injuries from week 1, but that defense is still scary. I think that offense is going to play a lot better than what they did against, they're not facing a Belichick defense again. So I'm a rock with the Eagles on this one.
Hey, I got that from my dad. I appreciate you showing respect. Yeah, man, listen, after seeing a team lose to the Bucs, you expect to see me pick them over the defending conference champions? I can't do it. I too have the Eagles. Packers, Falcons, Mar.
Man, we wanted to see what Jordan Love had, and we got some good stuff from him. I mean, say what you want. And the defense, they gave a lackluster O-line hell in Chicago. I mean, got to put that caveat in there. But the Atlanta Falcons, man, I'm still waiting for Desmond Ridder to show me something that he belongs as a starter.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
Listen, I saw him enough at Cincinnati playing in the American Athletic Conference. You could keep looking. I don't think it's there, but I interrupt you. Continue.
No, you're good. Bijan Robinson did well. He probably should have got more touches, but believe it or not, I love their backfield. Tyler Algier kind of showed something that don't forget about me. And he had some production in that game too. Bijan Robinson is going to be a beast. He's my dark horse to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. To be honest, I'm gonna probably roll with the Packers. I just slightly because their defense, I think, is a little bit more gelled together than Atlanta's defense right now.
Well, hey, listen, when you're talking garbage offensive lines, the only team that might have a longer history is, in fact, the Atlanta Falcons. I don't care how much they run the football. It's because that coach likes to. And if you do something a lot, you're considered great at it. No, that's not me taking a shot at Dan Marino. I know he had to pass all the time, but that's because he had a good – that's not what I'm getting at. The punchline is this. Balance wins football games, and the Packers have it where the Falcons don't. That's right, Falcons. Your quarterback's so bad. I love what they're doing with Jordan compared to Desmond Ridder. I, too, have the Pack.
Yeah. Go, Pack, go.
Listen, man, is there any scenario where you pick the Raiders over an angry Buffalo Bills team? Because that's kind of,
Nope. Hey, look, Josh Allen admitted himself had a horrible game, and he deserves all the criticism for that poor game on Monday.
Let's give the Jets defense some credit.
Would never discredit the Jets defense. They played a hell of a game. Matter of fact, now that they had that significant injury at Aaron Rodgers' position, you kind of have to lean on this defense big time for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. What might be the toughest game to pick this weekend, we'll see as we go through, but the Ravens head to Cincinnati to battle the Bengals. Who you got, buddy?
As much as we say a pissed off Bills, you got to have a pissed off Bengals. I mean, you just gave a man $275 million and he gave you 84 yards passing and you pulled him with about 6 minutes left in the game. So I'm expecting a pissed off Bengals and a pissed off, matter of fact, Joe Burrow. T. Higgins did nothing. Jamar Chase really wasn't able to get off. So, yeah, I'm expecting them to definitely come out firing on all cylinders. I'm going to rock with the Bengals on this one.
Listen, the year before Joe Burrow completed the greatest statistical offensive campaign with LSU in college football history, I personally watched him get pissed off when defensive tackle Joey Connor knocked him on his butt in the Fiesta Bowl covering UCF, and that dude got pretty damn angry. So with all that in mind, I'm going to take the Bengals, mostly because I don't think the Ravens can take advantage of the O-line woes the Ravens can't take advantage of the O-line woes of the Bengals the same way Cleveland does. Yeah, I'm saying the interior defensive line for Cleveland is better than Baltimore's right now, something I didn't think I'd ever say this time 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You would have never had that thought, right?
Not at all. Not at all. Geno Smith and the Seahawks travel to the Lions against Man Campbell and company. Mar.
Man, I hate to say it because I was big on the Seahawks, but they laid an egg last week. Only problem is they're going to a team that's feeling real confident about themselves in Detroit and their home, having the opener. And believe it or not, man, in Arrowhead Stadium, there was a lot of Honolulu blue in the stadium. So I'm expecting a packed house from Detroit, and I'm expecting them to walk away with this dub too.
Listen, no disrespect to Geno Smith. This is a guy that's overcome a lot, but I expect him walking out of that stadiums with his kneecaps bit off. I too have the Lions. Colts, Texans, Mar.
Man, this is almost mirror image of a toilet bowl, slightly. But I can't. If we're going by quarterbacks, I like what I saw more with Anthony Richardson than I did with CJ Stroud. So I'm on that factor alone. I'm a rock with the Colts on this one.
I can't frown on that. Anthony Richardson is going to be a good quarterback if he stays healthy, and he had trouble doing that through that first game. Moreover, this Texans defense is going to scare some people. There's a reason why the Ravens keep getting complaints that they look so flat. That Texans defense is better than everyone's willing to accept yet. And I think D'Amico Ryans as the new head coach is going to make some noise here. I see the Colts going 0-2 after this game. I have the Texans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was leaning towards the Texans because of that factor, exactly what you just said, because I can see Will Anderson putting his name in the hat for Defensive Rookie of the Year for sure.
No doubt.
There's no doubt about that, but it's a D'Amico Ryans factor, what you said, which really scares me on that pick for sure.
Hey, but you got to score points to win the game, man. I see where you're going too. Your Chiefs head to Jacksonville this Sunday, where I will be present in the press box. Who you got, my guy?
I see it kind of going down like last week. Last year in both matchups. But here's my thing with the Jaguars. In both games, they got down early, so they were going up an uphill climb. They can't go down early in this game. They have to get it in front of the Chiefs early. And even when you were on our show, I pointed this out again. I'm gonna say it again. Trevor Lawrence has to get the ball control or the ball security under control. He has to. That's what I talked about it last year with it. And then first game of the season, he throws a pick and he had a fumble. He didn't lose a fumble, but that ball security still scares me. And you picked the wrong time to have Chris Jones come back as well. So I'm going to rock with the Chiefs in a real close game, a one-possession game again, but I'm going to rock with the Chiefs.
In the name of keeping my guest from being called the homer, I too have the Chiefs. Listen, buddy, I respect the trenches too much to pretend that Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to escape the wrath of Chris Jones. As it was, he was having to tiptoe around DeForest Buckner with great difficulty on a regular basis. And I'm pretty sure the Chiefs secondary is far better than the Colts on experience alone. Not to mention you have this real young linebacker. The dude looks like a college student still without his helmet on, but when he puts those shoulder pads and helmet, he's a badass. Yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. I have the Chiefs, my man. Next up, the Bears head to the Bucks. This is your toilet bowl, by the way.
Yeah. But I will say this. I didn't expect the 1-0 Buccaneers. I'll be honest about that. But I say this, as much question mark as it is with Baker Mayfield, that defense I still have no question mark about, because they still got a lot of those players that won the Super Bowl a few years ago on that defense. And if you got that going against a very bad O-line in Chicago, I'm expecting Vita Vea to actually have a hell of a game this week. So I'm going to rock with the Buccaneers on this one.
Yeah, living La Vida Vea is how you're going to win this football game. I love that take 100%.
You better trademark that, bro.
That's from the hip, son. Pow, pow, pow. But yeah, man, let's roll with my new T-shirt. I'm going to say the Bucks at home win the day. The Chargers head to Tennessee. Mar, who you got?
The good thing is about the Chargers, they're playing an offense that is pretty stagnant over there in Tennessee. The bad thing is that their defense was pretty porous against two in them. But like I said, Tennessee, they got to show that they can actually move the ball and get in the end zone. I think it's going to be a close one just because you're looking at a bad offense in Tennessee and a bad defense with the Chargers. The only reason why it's close is because I take Tennessee's defense is going to give fits to that Chargers offense. But Chargers walk away with it. It'll be a close one, though.
Oh, listen, the Tennessee defense is actually good, and that's all that is good about that Tennessee team, in my opinion. You put racing engines in a Pinto, it ain't going to drive all that much faster. All right? Listen, here's the thing. I think you're being a little too harsh on the Chargers defense. That Miami offense, for real, bro. You can't be counting them that much. That being said, you're going from a true sports car to Tannehill. But
yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's why I'm thinking that it should be a bounce back week for that Chargers defense. It just scares me because when you see that Chargers defense go against elite offenses like they did against Miami, that's when you run into situations where how are we going to stop them? So they got to get that fixed because you got to see Patrick Mahomes twice a year. So you got to get it fixed.
To your point, that offense looked pretty balanced for the Chargers. I expect Henry to have a lot bigger factor in his own way. Yeah, we'll leave all that at that. I too have the Chargers, and I maintain that my prediction of only 7 wins for the Titans wasn't all that bad, no matter what the general or Cortland Griffin said. Shout out to my guys at the 3-point conversion. Anyways, they got mad backlash when they read that article that I dropped for the preview on the 3-point conversion. Bing! Anyways, listen, that still sells papers.
Sell it.
By the way, Mar, I apologize in advance. We were both completely wrong. Here's your toilet bowl this week. The Giants, with the alleged coach of the year that actually should have been Doug Peterson and Brian Daboll, heading to Arizona. Who you got?
My goodness. I know the Giants are happy that they get to face a team like the Cardinals, because that 40-0 beatdown. Talking about expectations that they didn't live up to. That was definitely the game, for sure. I get it. They went up against a good Dallas defense, which is legit. But hey, here's where you got to redeem yourself. If you can't get the ball moving on a bad Arizona team, then we have major issues. So Giants, you gotta take care of business. I know they can't. The Cardinals gave Washington a little bit hell, but the Giants are slightly a bit better team than the Commanders. Yeah, slightly. It ain't much, especially if you're going off week 1. It ain't much.
After all, the only way you can have more L's than Daniel Jones is if you have Sam Howell. Anyways, got him. By the way, as somebody who covered a team that was known as tanking for Tua, when I was writing for the Dolphins wire, Mar, this team looks worse. I'm going to pick the Giants just on general principle.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Niners and the Rams. Mar.
Hey, I wasn't expecting the Rams to perform like they did last week. I'll be quite honest. They went into Seattle. I'm pretty sure they heard the noise. A lot of people were not expecting anything for the Rams. I'm expecting 6, maybe 5 wins from the Rams. They got 1, so they're already on track to beat my predictions. But the fact that they are going against Niners, this their second road game, and they're not scared to go to anybody's house. That defense looked real good. And there's a defensive end that got pretty heftily paid, and Nick Bosa, so he has motivation to go in there and outshine Aaron Donald. On that matter, I'm rolling with the 49ers.
I can't blame you for that. By the way, you mentioned it being a road game. Do you have any idea how many Niner fans actually invade SoFi? It's pretty crazy. It's not the road advantage you would hope, and it's a beautiful stadium. It almost looks like an art museum on the inside.
Yeah, it's a beautiful stadium that they can't even get their home crowd to support them.
Well, I mean, it was a great Super Bowl. I'll leave it at that. I have the Niners over the Rams. Let's see, Jets and Cowboys.
Mm.
This is kind of a fascinating game. What do you think, Mar?
Bad week to get your take over for Aaron Rodgers, right? Zach Wilson, bad week, right? And it's in Arlington. So look, I know they're gonna rally around Zach Wilson, but that's still the same porous O-line that couldn't block nothing last week against the Bills. And I don't think the Bills defense is nowhere close as elite as the Cowboys defense.
They are not.
No, not even close. Micah Parsons might have a career day. I'm rolling with the Cowboys.
And just as much as Micah Parsons might have a career day, Sauce Gardner might. I'll put it this way, if people are even a fraction of correct on Dak as they think they are, you're going to see him throw some picks in this game. However, I don't roll with the haters on this because the Cowboys get this, Mar, are running the goddamn football.
Which is crazy, right?
I mean, for all the trash that people talked on Mike McCarthy on how stagnant and boring his offense is, you know what you do with a team like this? You run a stagnant and boring offense. Things aren't so boring when that offense is putting up 40. Sure, it's with defensive help, but nonetheless, I too have the Cowboys over the Jets. The Red Tails, Commanders will travel to Denver to battle Rusty and the Broncos. What say you, Mar?
Man, oh my goodness. What to really make of the Broncos? I mean, Sean Payton comes in, they got the turmoil in the offseason, him talking about Nathaniel Hackett, and then you go and you thought that you were going to change Russell Wilson, and he threw 2 touchdowns, and the stat line looks good, but he really didn't wow anybody. That offense, like we said, they're missing a lot of skilled players. And I think there's enough pressure from that front four on the Commanders that they can go in there and steal that win from Denver. And that's what I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with the Commanders on this one.
Well, I'll say this one. Whenever you're battling the Red Tails, keep your money on the under when you can here for the most part. Here's the thing. On one side, I have Russell Carrington Wilson, and then on the other side, I have Sam Howell. I see you're including Rusty's first name to get more L's, but the last name Howell has more L's. I don't care if you have Eric Bieniemy, who has no L's in his name. His quarterback does. I'm going to pick the Broncos. Call me a Rusty Homer if you want, which don't look that up on Urban Dictionary. I haven't, but that just sounds like it's nasty. With that in mind, I'm going to let Mar recover from my terrible dad joking and head over to Sunday night. The Dolphins heading over to Foxborough to battle Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Is there any way that this is close? Am I the problem here?
Well, to be honest, because Belichick is a good defensive coordinator, defensive wizard, whatever analogy or metaphor you want to put on his name, he knows how to get his guys playing on defense. And I'll be honest, he's had to his number since he's gotten into the league. That's the only factor and only chance that I think the Patriots might have, because that defense pretty much primarily was able to keep them in the game against Philly. Could you had more, more help on the offensive side? Of course, but it's going to start slow for Philly. I'm sorry, it's going to start slow on the offensive side. For the Patriots, but I'm gonna give them the slight edge just because I think Belichick can always come up with a good scheme to slow down Tua and slow down Tyreek. So I'm a slight edge. I'm gonna go Patriots in this.
I appreciate your bravery. I don't.
It's brave. It's brave.
I mean, it's just too early in the season for this to happen because it's this time of year that you normally see some sort of silliness. Actually, when it comes to this game, you always see some sort of silliness, man. Listen. I remember my first year with the Dolphins wire. I picked the Dolphins to go to 6-10, and they went 7-9, and my editor beat me. And you know why? Because the stupid Miami Miracle.
That is true. Like you can't deny that factor.
Yeah, that's why I ain't mad at you for picking the Pats. This is that kind of game, man. This is the stuff that the Ravens and the Steelers used to be with Ben Roethlisberger and Joe Flacco and all that. It's crazy. Even still. I'm going to pick the Fins. Call me a Florida homer if you want to, though that's not the reason. But hey, here's what it is. Saints travel to Carolina to battle Bryce Young and the Panthers. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, good luck, Bryce Young. I hope you got good health insurance. If you struggled with that Atlanta defense, the Saints defense is far and above beat better than that Falcons defense. Still, when you got to pick your fence as an O-line in Carolina, they couldn't even protect them in preseason. So yeah, you better be able to get them wheels working. I'm going with the Saints on this one.
See, I love you flexing the football knowledge on this one here, Mar, and showing off why you're on this show tonight here on the Student of the Game, because the Saints as a defensive team is something that still F's with my head. Do you have any idea what I used to call them when Drew Brees was still on the team, Mar? I used to say they were the prom date team. You know why? Because they could score whenever they wanted and they wouldn't stop anyone from doing it. But the punchline is this: that's not this anymore. This is the best defense that Derek Carr's ever played with, and you'll see it again as they supplant the Panthers. You like that analogy, though, I could tell.
Oh, I do. I dig it. I dig it, baby.
Make sure you tell Mel about that. By the way, I hope you guys didn't fight too hard after that Thursday.
Nah, he didn't rub it in my face too hard. But I let him have his moment. Super Bowls aren't won in September. That's all I know.
Hey, be honest. If it was any other team but your own, you'd have been all about watching that ish.
Oh, come on, no doubt about it.
I'm just saying. I'm not telling you that I'm bringing out like the Stephen Hawking intelligence level takes here. I'm just saying that's a fact of the case. Okay, that's all.
Hey, when you're right, you're right, baby.
Last game, the Browns do battle with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. It's not a doubleheader because they're competing with each other. I don't know what the hell you call it. Yeah,
I didn't understand the NFL like really, knocking viewership and splitting it in half. I thought that was weird, but
I don't know. And listen, they're desperate to be. Here's what it is, though. Like the Steeler game is going to get that draw. Second, second most popular team. Blah blah blah. Yeah. The regional game, they're having start first. But they're assuming it's going to be garbage football, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, it's because it's the NFC South. I'm going full John Cena, and I blame you. There we go. Oh, no, I see him. That's the problem. Anyway, Browns, Steelers, who you got, Mar?
On this factor, because Browns just lost the tackle and Conklin. That leaves TJ Watt, who had a hell of a game last week against San Francisco 49ers.
He did, but
TJ Watt is about to wreak havoc on that O-line. Pittsburgh get their first win.
Hey, listen, let me be clear. I might be a Niner fan, but you see who the man crush is on the wall. Right? Yeah, right. We respect the Watts on this podcast.
Always. Got to.
And yeah, I knew he was going to get some numbers, and no disrespect to the Niner O-line, man. That's just shoot. He's just a bad man. Isaac Hayes should do a theme for him. I don't care if he's white. Anyways, what?
Who is the man? TJ, what? He's going to come in and wreck, man.
He's going to do what? Anyways, you feeling it?
I feel it.
See, I'm really just stalling because I don't know how to pick this game. You make a good point about Conklin, but let's be honest. Up front in general, the Browns are nasty.
They are. They are.
Grow up real fast. I don't know if they're Niners nasty or not. I'm going to go with the Steelers because they're at the venue formerly known as Heinz Field. But man, if the Browns win this, I wouldn't rule it out either. I know I've been critical of the Browns because I think Deshaun Watson has not embraced the role of the villain. But that being said, they're remembering that they're a run-first team now suddenly. It's kind of a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, always. And I'll say this about Deshaun. First half of that game, when he was looking like the Deshaun of last year in the 6 games, still a little rusty. He got it going in the second half. But, man, I hope he is ready to move because TJ going to be on him.
I mean, yeah. You either hope he's ready to move or see karma at work in the form of a defensive backfield invaded. Wait, that sounds bad. Anyways, Mar, man, listen, an honor, joy, and privilege. We definitely had some laughs. I can guarantee you the next time you're on the show, I will have my draft ready to go. As it is, my throat is shouting for dear life that my voice is still going. But man, listen, what a time to have you in. Had a great time doing it. Talk some Chiefs with you. Brother,
Always.
tell the world where you can be found, my man.
Yeah. You can find me. I'm any and everywhere, man. But definitely you can find me ILW Sports Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, ILW Sports 1 on Twitter. You want to chop it up with me personally, KC Wildcard Mar on the Twitter. I still call it Twitter, but regardless.
Listen, it's better you don't call it. You better you call it Twitter, because you start using X, and I'm gonna get some like bad dad jokes involving 90s and 2000s hip hop rap. Okay, like
Hey.
if you get a direct message on that, is that called a DMX? I'm just asking.
Hey, it's funny you said that, because every time I want to say X, that's the only thing I could think of is the great DMX. So hey,
all that happens is that X is gonna give it to you. Get it.
Go give it to you. Go and give it to you.
I interrupted you. Keep telling the people, baby.
No. I if you can't find me there, you can definitely find me on 613 Fate Productions with D-Man K Sports Podcast. And that's all I got to plug, man. But yeah, man. Hey, Kyle, always a pleasure to talk football with you. It was a pleasure to be here on your show. And hey, we'll do it again.
I mean no disrespect to Cool, but I felt a little dissed that you and I didn't get to face off on the Playmakers, on the Play Callers show. But I mean, that's okay. If they want to miss a good time, that's on them.
Hey, it is what it is. Hey, we know who bring the views in this piece, baby.
But you know what though? I talked that trash. There's no way I could have done it, dude. I still had a stomach bug thing going. I was out on Tuesday. Forget about it.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed it.
It was great having you on, man. There will be another time. And hey, listen, I love that you continue to subtly dunk on me being perfectly on time for my show. Well, I completely had CPT for yours, man. I'm so sorry.
Hey, if anybody can understand CPT, it's me.
Hey, brother, an honor, joy, and privilege, man. We'll catch you the next time.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. My wild card Mar. Prove it why he earned the namesake. Had the dang Black and Mild going just as I had hoped. It was a beautiful time here on the show, and I hope you thought the same as you came in. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings on the Black and Gold Banneret as I cover UCF. They're going to be hosting Villanova here on Saturday, and I will be there for that action in person, watching Timmy McClain get the start, and hope to build up his quarterback confidence. Also, I will be in the house at Everbank Stadium the next day on Sunday as the Chiefs head to Jacksonville to do battle against the Jaguars. Be ready for the Jaguar Report of SI. Also there covering stuff with A7B in sports and the 3-point conversion. Check out the stuff I get there in the locker room and post game on the 3-point conversion YouTube channel. That should be a fun time all the way around. And of course, my work here coming up on Friday, the Duval Dive, my podcast with my dude, Travis Holmes. That's going to be a fun time. On all the same places that you find the student of the game, you too will also find the Duval Dive. That should be fun. And if you miss all of it live and you don't want to waste the time to get it on demand of the podcast, I don't know why you wouldn't, but whatever, check it out on oldschool101.com Sunday at noon. That should be fun all the way around. Special thanks to my guy Wildcard Mar of ILW Sports, and also Matt Murschel, the National College Football writer for the Orlando Sentinel. But until next time, everybody, class dismissed.